So, guys, ever since Jaxson Dart became the Giants' quarterback, expectations have only continued to grow. Everyone can see the potential, but the Giants also understand that potential alone doesn't win football games. As they evaluated Dart throughout the offseason, one weakness kept standing out, and it quickly became clear that fixing it could be the key to unlocking this entire offense. With training camp now approaching and the pressure to take the next step only increasing, the Giants know they can't afford that part of his game to remain a weakness any longer. So, let's break down the major adjustment the Giants are making for Jaxson Dart, why they believe it's so important for his development, and how it could completely change this offense in 2026. What's up, Big Blue? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Giants. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So, let's start with where things actually stand right now. Dart is heading into this season as the guy. The starter, the face of this offense, and honestly, the player this whole rebuild is going to be measured around for the next several years. And look, that's not a small thing to carry as a young quarterback. You're talking about a guy who flashed real ability last year, showed toughness, showed he could make plays when things broke down, and gave Giants fans a reason to actually believe in the position again after years of frustration. But belief only gets you so far. At some point, the tape has to back it up, and that's exactly where this next chapter of his development becomes so important. Every rep this offseason, every walkthrough, every install period, it all matters now because the margin for a slow start is basically gone. This is the year the Giants need to see real, tangible growth, not just flashes. And when you break down exactly what the coaching staff has been working on with him, you start to understand just how targeted this offseason plan really is. Now, here's the thing everyone keeps circling back to when they talk about what's holding this offense back from taking that next step. It's the deep passing game, and I mean specifically throws of 20 or more air yards down the field. Last year, the Giants ranked 19th in the league in deep passing efficiency with a passer rating of 91. 2 on those attempts, which was also 19th. Dart completed just 31, 1% of his deep throws, and honestly, that number is what really jumps off the page when you start digging into it. On top of that, the Giants were tied for 20th in the league with 11 overthrows on deep balls, and tied for 5th most with 3 underthrows. Put all of that together, and you're looking at a quarterback and an offense that simply weren't connecting downfield with any real consistency. And here's why that matters so much. In today's NFL, if you can't threaten the defense vertically, defensive coordinators have zero reason to respect anything past 15 yards. They just sit on the underneath stuff, they crowd the box, and they dare you to beat them deep. Last year, the Giants basically couldn't. Now, I want to be fair here because it's not all on Dart. Receivers not getting separation, guys rounding off routes a little early, drops at the catch point, all of that plays a role too. But when you're talking about accuracy on deep throws specifically, that responsibility does start with the quarterback. And that's exactly why the Giants have made this such a priority this offseason. They're not treating it as a minor tweak. They're treating it as the single biggest thing standing between this offense being average and this offense being genuinely dangerous. When you talk to people around the building, this isn't some side project buried in a larger offseason plan. It's front and center, it's the #1 item on the checklist for Dart heading into year 2, and honestly, when you look at the numbers side by side, it's not hard to see why this became such a priority. A team that ranks 19th in deep passing efficiency and completes barely 3 out of every 10 shots downfield is leaving a lot of explosive plays on the table. Explosive plays win football games. They flip field position, they put pressure on opposing defenses, and they take pressure off everything else the offense is trying to do. So, when this part of the game is broken, it doesn't just hurt one category on a stat sheet, it quietly drags down the entire offensive operation. So, what exactly are they changing? The first piece is personnel. Bigger targets at receiver help Dart see through traffic and layer throws over top of coverage instead of having to thread every single deep ball into a tight window. When you've got size on the outside, it just gives the quarterback more room for error, more room to trust his arm, and more room to let receivers go up and win balls that maybe aren't placed perfectly. That's a subtle thing, but it makes a real difference for a young passer who's still building trust in his own reads. The second piece, and honestly this might be the most important one, is mechanics. The Giants have been working with Dart on everything: his footwork, his back pedal, his windup, and his release. One specific issue they identified is that his shoulders were uneven on his release, dipping on one side instead of staying level. And when that happens, a quarterback ends up relying more on arm strength to push the ball deep, which puts extra air under the throw. That extra hang time is exactly what gives defenders a chance to close in and make a play on the ball. So, fixing that shoulder alignment isn't just a small technical detail, it directly affects how catchable and how accurate his deep balls are going to be. Think about it this way: a ball with less air under it gets to the receiver faster, gives the defender less time to react, and turns a contested throw into a clean completion. That's the kind of small mechanical fix that can quietly transform a stat line over the course of a full season. The third piece is timing, and this one just comes down to reps. The more Dart works with his receivers, the more he understands the little details and how each guy runs his routes. When he breaks, how he adjusts to leverage, the better the timing becomes. That's why you're going to see him getting a ton of work this summer, both in practice and through the preseason. It's also part of the reason the Giants didn't bring in a fourth arm for camp. They want Dart getting as many reps as possible because building that chemistry with his receivers is something you simply can't fast track. You have to put the time in. There's no shortcut for it, no drill that replaces actually throwing the ball to the same guys over and over until the timing becomes second nature. And it's worth pointing out, this kind of attention to detail, tweaking footwork, fixing shoulder alignment, rebuilding timing from the ground up, this is exactly the kind of hands-on development a young quarterback needs. It's not flashy, it's not the kind of thing that shows up in highlight reels during OTAs, but it's the foundation that everything else gets built on. You don't get a franchise quarterback by just handing him the job and hoping the talent takes over. You get there through this exact process, the grinding, unglamorous work of fixing small technical issues one rep at a time. Then there's play action, which ties directly back into the run game. If the Giants can establish the power run and make defenses respect it, that opens up play action opportunities, which in turn sets up exactly the kind of deep shots they're trying to hit more consistently. And on top of all of that, the coaching staff is also working to simplify Dart's reads, which should speed up his decision-making and lead to cleaner, more structured plays instead of him having to process too much before he can pull the trigger. When a young quarterback isn't stuck sorting through 5 different progressions in his head, he plays faster, he plays looser, and honestly, he plays with a lot more confidence. Now let's talk about why all of this actually matters, because this isn't just about padding stats or making the offense look flashier. A real deep passing threat changes the entire identity of an offense. When a quarterback can consistently push the ball down the field, defenses can't just sit back and squeeze everything underneath. They have to respect the vertical passing game, which opens up space everywhere else. The intermediate routes, the run game. Even the short passing game becomes more effective because defenders can't crowd the line of scrimmage without fear of getting beat over the top. It's basically a domino effect. Fix the deep ball, and suddenly everything else on this offense gets a little easier. For an offense that wants to take that jump into being a legitimate top 10 unit, you simply cannot get there without a functioning deep passing attack. It's not about chucking the ball 20 times a game. Nobody does that, and honestly, that wouldn't even be sustainable. It's about having that element in the arsenal so defenses have to account for it on every single snap. Right now, teams know they can play tight and aggressive against this Giants offense because the deep ball hasn't been a real threat. Fix that, and suddenly the whole calculus changes for opposing defensive coordinators. They can't just key on the run and squat on short routes anymore because now there's a real cost to guessing wrong. And that brings us to what this could mean heading into 2026. If Dart takes the step everyone inside the building seems to believe he's capable of, this offense looks completely different. You're talking about a quarterback who's more accurate down the field, receivers who are winning more contested situations, and a run game that benefits from defenses having to respect the pass over the top. That's the kind of foundation that turns an offense from unpredictable into genuinely explosive. And for a fan base that has waited a long time for that kind of consistency, this is exactly the storyline worth paying attention to. Think about what that actually looks like on Sundays. Instead of settling for checkdowns on 3rd and long because the defense is sitting comfortably underneath, Dart has an actual answer over the top. Instead of defenses playing single high safety and daring the Giants to beat them deep, they have to start bringing extra help, which opens up everything underneath for easier completions. That's the ripple effect a real deep passing game creates, and it's exactly what this coaching staff is banking on heading into the new season. Now, I'm not going to sit here and promise you it's going to click overnight. Mechanical changes take time, chemistry takes time, and Dart is still learning on the job at the highest level. But the coaching staff clearly identified the issue, they've built a plan around fixing it, and Dart has been putting the work in. With pads coming back on and camp right around the corner, we'll finally start getting real answers. If this deep passing game takes that step forward, it doesn't just fix one weakness, it unlocks the entire offense. It gives Dart the tools to operate at a higher level and gives the Giants a real identity instead of relying on hope. So, keep your eyes on this one, because how it develops could end up defining what kind of season the Giants are capable of having in 2026.